It's very difficult. Sometimes, sometimes in my, my senior years and a lot of work in print, I'm asked to go to colleges to teach a class or speak before students of nonfiction writing. And they ask a lot of questions, and how did you do this and how did you do that? And I tell them, but sometimes I think to myself, how are these people going to get a job? And while these people are very interested and eager and certainly attentive to what I am saying in these classroom sessions, I wonder how they're ever going to do it, because the life has changed. In the year 2009, it's not at all like it was in 1959 when I started writing for magazines. And I kept writing for magazines from the 1960s into the 70s. That piece on Frank Sinatra was published in 1966. And when I did that piece, Esquire was the publisher. They sent me out to California. They put me in a very fine hotel, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Beverly Hills, California. I was able to rent a car. I was able to have an expense account and take people to lunch, to dinner, and I kept careful records, of course, I always have, of what I spend, because I'm to be reimbursed and I want to be very accurate about it. And there was never, even when I was not getting the cooperation that it was expected I would, because it was expected I would get an interview, but I never got an interview. But I still stayed out there and talked to all these minor people that I mentioned earlier. And never did the editor say, oh, listen, you better come home. I actually volunteered when I was staying in the Beverly Wilshire. It was the third or fourth day. I was aware that maybe I should move to a cheaper hotel, find a place. I was going to spend a lot of time out there. It turns out I spent about 4 weeks in Beverly Hills, just research. And I'd asked the editor if he wanted me to look for a hotel room that wouldn't be so expensive. And he said, no, stay where you are. Now, that wouldn't happen now. But a lot of things have happened that make life for young writers who would like to do what I used to do. But it's so changed. The technology, I think, has had a ruinous effect. It started with the tape recorder. That was number one. The worst thing ever happened to nonfiction, serious nonfiction writing, was the tape recorder. What this did was allow reporters or magazine writers to use Q&A techniques, question and answer, to take a tape recorder, and in rather not much time at all, to get a lot of verbatim quotes from well-known people. Magazines prefer to have well-known people when they put them on the cover. Usually they're movie stars or well-known people in aspects of political life. And the tape recorder allows a reporter to go to a hotel room, for example, and interview a movie star. And with a matter of about an hour, we'll get enough for an article. And then go back and write it using a lot of direct quotes. Some of these quotes I said earlier aren't quotes that I would want to use, because it doesn't necessarily mean what people have in their heads. It's rather what they're coming out of their mouths. These extended sound bites is what they're getting. And also, I think in the process of having a tape recorder, they brought the whole format of the magazine article indoors, because the tape recorder is done indoors. Most of the pieces that I wrote, and still would write if I was able to do what I want to do, would be outdoors. I travel with people. My technique is hanging out with people. When I wrote about Sinatra, I was never indoors with him. I was watching him in the studio. I described it when he was recording. I watched him taking walks in Las Vegas as he went from casino to casino, the scenes of his gambling, going to a prize fight in Las Vegas. They were big scenes, and they were outdoors, and they were very descriptive, and they told the reader what it was like to be there. It wasn't this narrow question answer. And the owners of magazines, the publisher or the editor or the owner, are very interested in cost cutting, of course. And the tape recorder played right into that. Moreover, it would be to the advantage of the publisher of a magazine to have things directly on quote with tape recorder to verify, so that the lawyers would be able to fight off any challenge in terms of misquotation. libel suits. So that was another contribution to the cost-cutting emphasis that was brought by editors upon the writing process. What you have now, with the exception of some great, like a great magazine like the New Yorker, was an exception, but what you have now is nothing of the kind of art of the magazine piece that I and many others of my generation used to practice. We had expense accounts. See, also that tape recorder meant that you didn't have to send people out to the other side of the United States. You could wait for the movie star or the singing star, the rock star, to come to New York, performing at Madison Square Garden, staying at the Pierre Hotel or the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, of the Plaza Hotel or wherever they're staying, and you send somebody over there with a tape recorder, and then they over an hour or so they'll get a lot of quotes. So the magazine piece is not a work of art anymore.